Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is cheer. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we can use this verb. The first way you can use cheer is to mean to shout for joy, or to shout in praise, or to shout in encouragement for someone or some group. This usage would apply to people who encourage their favorite athletes or athletic teams, who shout in praise of really good performances, whether it's music or theater or anything else. A second way you might hear the verb cheer used is to mean to give comfort or support to a particular person. A third way you might hear the verb cheer used is to mean to participate as a cheerleader, or to participate in the sport of cheerleading. We'll talk a little bit more about that word when we look at some of our related words. You should know that cheer is a regular verb. To make it the progressive tense, all we need to do is add ing to form cheering. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding ed. And since our verb cheer ends in a voiced R sound, our ed is going to make a D sound. Cheered, cheered. Now let's take a look at some phrasal verbs with cheer. The first one you might hear is to cheer on. This ties back to the first definition we looked at about encouragement or in praise. So if you're cheering on someone, you are encouraging them. Here's an example sentence. We can cheer the runners on during the race. So that might be standing, maybe doing a little bit of clapping and saying, come on, you can do it. The finish line is close, right? That would be something that's encouraging. A second phrasal verb you might hear is cheer up. And many times this is used as an imperative, and it's said to someone who is rather sad, unhappy, or miserable. And what we're encouraging the person to do is be less sad, unhappy, or miserable. Here is an example sentence. What will cheer you up? So I'm asking someone who's maybe sad, what will make you less sad or less unhappy? Now, let's practice using our verb cheer in a couple different verb tenses. Today, we'll practice with the simple present, the present perfect, and the simple future. Let's start with affirmative sentences in the simple present. Remember, when we're talking about the simple present, we're generally talking about habits or routines. We might also use this verb tense to talk about facts. To make the simple present in the affirmative, it's very easy if our subject is I, you, we, or they. We just use the base verb. But if our subject is he, she, or it, then we need to add an S to the base verb. So here's an example sentence. His mom always cheers more loudly than others. So notice that S on the end. If my subject in that sentence had been his parents, I'm talking about two people, I'd say his parents always cheer. Now let's take a look at negative sentences. In the simple present, if my subject is I, you, we, or they, you're going to see do not and then the base verb. You might also hear the contraction don't. If the subject is he, she, or it, then you will see does not in the base verb. You might also hear the contraction doesn't. Let's look at an example sentence. Tennis fans don't cheer during a point. So we have a few sports where they want you to be quiet during certain portions. Golf and tennis are good examples of this. So you can cheer after the point is over, or after someone gets the ball in the hole in golf, but not during the part where the athlete is performing. If I want to make a yes or no question in the simple present, I'm going to start with do or does, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. So the only time we're using an S on the end of cheer is in the simple present affirmative with our subjects he, she, and it. Here's an example of a yes or no question. Do sweet treats cheer you up? Do they make you less sad or less unhappy? Now let's take a look at the present perfect. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that started in the past and continues into the present, or we can use it to describe something that happened at an indefinite point in the past. So we don't know if it was 1 week ago or 1 year ago, but it might not just matter too much. So that's why we're using the present perfect, or we might not know. To make the present perfect in the affirmative, if our subject is I, you, we, or they, we're going to use have and then the participle form of the verb. Or if our subject is he, she, or it, we'll use has and then the participle form of the verb. Here's an example sentence. Latinx people have cheered the selection of Alex Padilla for senator in California. So these cheers might be in praise of this selection. So current senator from California is going to become vice president. So the governor of California has selected somebody to take her position. And the person he has selected will be the first Latino to represent the state of California in the Senate. So this is a big accomplishment. And I think that's why you're seeing this action of praising the selection. Now let's take a look at a negative present perfect sentence. Here we're going to insert not after have or has. You might hear native speakers use the contractions hasn't or haven't. Here's an example. She hasn't cheered since 9th grade. Now this sentence probably connects back to our third meaning. So she hasn't participated in the sport of cheerleading. Now let's make a yes or no question in the present perfect. We'll start with have or has, then we'll have our subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Have you cheered loudly during the game? So this is one of those something that's in progress, or something that started in the past continues into the present. Maybe the game isn't over when this question is asked. Now let's take a look at simple future. Today we'll make sentences using will and our base verb. And what's nice about that is that's going to be our structure no matter what our subject is. So it doesn't matter if it's I, you, we, they, he, she, or it. It will always be will and then the base verb. Here's an example. Many people will cheer the start of a new year. And so we know many people have not enjoyed 2020. It's been a bad year. So they might be shouting for joy as we enter a new year this next week. If I want to make a negative simple future using will, I'm going to insert not after will. You might hear native speakers use the contraction won't. Fans won't cheer in person for several more months. We know there are certain professional sporting leagues and even some amateur or children's leagues who are limiting the number of fans that can watch. Finally, if I want to make a yes or no question in the simple future, I'm going to start with will, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Will that movie cheer me up? So maybe I feel sad and I want to know, will this make me a little less sad? Now let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb cheer. And the first is just the noun form of this word. So same spelling, same pronunciation. A cheer could be a shout of encouragement, praise, or joy. So again, that connects back to the first definition we looked at. Here's an example sentence. There were so many cheers from the audience after the performance. So So this might be shouts in praise. Another way to use the noun cheer is to refer to cheerfulness, optimism, or confidence. Here's an example of that. Have you experienced much holiday cheer this year? So again, this is another word you hear kind of connected to the Christmas holiday and the month of December, which is another reason to include it. The next word we're going to look at is an exclamation. It's the word cheers. And it's a word that is said to express good wishes or positive thoughts. And it's generally done when people are celebrating and they might be drinking alcohol. So that idea of maybe kind of clinking glasses is something. So someone might say to someone else, "Here's to a great 2021. And the other person could respond back, "Cheers," and then they might touch glasses. Another related word is the adjective cheery. It means happy and optimistic. So sometimes you'll hear clothes or other objects is described as cheery. So the idea being looking at them makes you smile and makes you feel happy and optimistic. Here's an example of that. Isn't this a cheery design? The last word we're going to look at connects back to our third definition of the verb cheer, and that's cheerleader. This is a noun, a member of a team that performs organized cheering, chanting, and possibly dancing in support of a particular sports team. You'll see cheerleaders at a high school level, in college, and even in some professional sports as well. Here's an example of that noun in a sentence. The cheerleaders attend all home games. So many times in sports, we'll differentiate between a home, so played at your particular facility, or an away game played at your opponent's site or stadium or court, depending on what the sport is. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.